Hello, everyone. Straight off of his nap, YamatoCannon is here alongside Jamada and myself. Welcome to the latest episode of Power Spike. dGon here. Week 7 in the books for many different leagues, 6 here in the LCK. We also had a very quotable crash out, but not so much because the organization was able to walk it back from Dignitas XU. Lawrence is a great kid. Has been working hard on it over at the LCS for a long time with the, Dignitas and DSG. Had a quote from an interview. We'll cover that later. Also, the third longest winning streak in the LCK doesn't belong to T1. It doesn't belong to D+. It doesn't belong to KT. Actually, the Bros. How fraudulent are they? The LCS had some big matches as well. But we start in the land of beef on Twitter. That's in France and Spain. It was actually, I guess, in Spain. The roadshow of LEC took place over in Madrid. High key, low key, no key, the best series from the roadshow. But let's start with the beef. Why not? Let's dive in there. Ibai and Kameto talking shit. Kameto having trouble with his setup live on the site there, Yamato. I'm sure you've co-streamed before, and when shit doesn't work, you assume someone's going to be there to help you. It felt like no one was there to help him. Kameto got mad at Ibai. Ibai was firing off shots at Twitter. Then I think Kameto left, and the show match that was supposed to happen didn't happen, and that was the last that I had on it. But since then, there's been a lot of smack talking. It just felt more personal than passionate. Like, do I, as a American, do not understand like the way that you banter in Europe, or was it a little extra there, Yamato?
No, it seemed it seemed very petty almost, you know. It worked in the sense that the match got a little bit more interesting, but it seemed petty, you know, in the sense that I understand from Kameto's point of view, just to loop everybody in, like the whole storyline, right, is the last time they did the roadshow in Madrid, he had a bad setup and his co-streaming situation was poorer. And then this time around, basically, what happened was that Trayton tweeted out that the venue was quite empty on Friday. No, he didn't tweet it out directly, but his Trayton TV tweeted out, so it's one of his channels, right? And as a response, Ibai was like, "Oh, French guy, he's KC." He just decided to say that KC is shit, which is fine. That's the rival club, right? And Kameto was like,
G2,
"Yo,
he's G2 affiliated, by the way. If you did not,
yeah, it's a G2 co-streamer." So Ibai took it upon himself to just call KC shit, which is very light. You know, that's your rival. You know, you should call their club shit every day. You know, it should be a part of your prayer. You know, it's like you wake up, sun rises, boom. KC shit, you know. That's just, we should be quite light, but I would say from Kameto's point of view, it's like he had the flight schedule. He's going to fly to Madrid. He probably does it as a favor to make the show better. He probably didn't have a contract. Probably doesn't get paid. That show match was designed just to make the show better as a favor. And I think that when you're in that position, you take offense to disrespect a little bit more, you know, because, you know, I'm doing you a favor. You should roll out the red carpet. It's like, I'm doing you a favor and you're talking shit to me. And I think that's how he viewed it. Obviously, it went deeper than that. The show match was cancelled. I think for the fans, that kind of sucks, because imagine you buy a ticket, you know, Timmy from Spain. I don't know why Timmy's not a Spanish name, but let's pretend Timmy from Spain is there to watch Kameto versus Ibai play against each other. Then suddenly it's cancelled last minute. I think that is quite bad, but it did make the game a lot more interesting, because I do think that the Koi versus KC matchup was the best one of the weekend.
All right, Jamada, weigh in on the drama, and then we'll dive into the matches.
Just childish, man. Both sides, low key. I don't really have much to add that wasn't really said on Twitter. Like, I think the big thing for me is getting to a point where we're dropping out of the show match. Bro, just be a fucking showman. Like, you do it for the fans. Don't like, I don't care if you've been like grievously offended. But you're supposed to be showing up for the people that are making the thing possible in the first place. That's pretty much it for me. And then there's like the other things. It's like, bro, you know, you've got people that are there that have like that are working there trying to set that up, and all of these extra layers where now all of a sudden you've just wasted their time effectively. And I think it boiled down to what they ended up having fans from the crowd come in and play the show match from the KC side or something along those lines. Was the eventual solution. So like it wasn't really cancelled, but it may as well have been.
It was friends of Ibai, like Spanish influencers and other streamers.
Yeah. So,
not random KC fans from the crowd.
Because they were asking on Twitter, like, "Yo, anyone from the crowd want to come play?" So I feel like they may have got one or two. I didn't watch the show match, so I genuinely don't know what the eventual outcome was. I just know it still did happen. But yeah, that for me is just the main thing. And then obviously the vitriol that kind of ended up spilling out on Twitter, I think, was like another example of both sides. You know, at some point, when will we like? There's an elephant in the room, and it feels like it gets addressed, but it doesn't get addressed directly. Like no one addresses the elephant directly. With just the toxicity at times. Like I get it. Like the national fan bases, I think, are always going to be a little bit more prideful than teams that are attached to just, or like fan bases that are just attached to teams that don't have a national identity. But anytime something like this is going on, it just devolves into like very just vile, like shit slinging, as far as the social media is concerned. So it's one of those things where it's like, you see the forward-facing people at the top of these pyramids behaving the way that they do. It's like you're setting an example as far as I'm concerned. And I just think that isn't a good look. And it wasn't a good look from both of them. For clarity, like Ibai going out of his way to be a little bit angry, or not going out of his way, but like reacting the way he was. KC reacting, or Kameto reacting the way he was. And I'm gonna make this point, because I think we made it the last time that like kind of KC fandom was a topic of conversation. I don't want to hear nothing about Kameto like addressing the fans and telling them to calm down. I know this is kind of soft adjacent to the show match and such, but addressing the fans, if he's only going to do it in French. It's one portion of the community speaks that language. A lot of people in the community speak English. It would make more of a statement if you went out of your way, main KC account or your account, statement in both languages. Because otherwise, most of the time, people don't know what you're saying. People don't want to go through VODs to see you trying to rein in people when this kind of drama is going on. And I would also apply the exact same logic to Kameto. I'm not just picking on, to Ibai. I'm not just picking on Kameto for the sake of picking on Kameto here. Like, if he does rein them in, good, but more rounded statement for everyone to see and understand, I think, is important in times like this. Because what actually ended up happening on social media as well, I think, was arguably kind of worse than like just specifically the cancellation of the show match and the beef that they ended up having.
Yeah, because I understand we talk shit. I understand that at times people talk too much shit and goes too far, but it feels like this happens a lot with these two org leaders and these two orgs, and then to have an event get canceled like that to me was a little confusing. Of like, okay, this was more than a little usual, but the added second time that this happened on a Madrid roadshow for Kameto makes a little bit more sense. I think you still just get through it, but hey, just an observer's look here as we dive into the matches themselves over at Madrid. It was a bit emptier on Friday, but same thing happened over at the LCK Roadshow on Friday, where people are still working, whatever, much more full over the weekend. So this is where we go with High Key Loki Noki. And Yamato, we'll start with you after we fly the graphic. Light, are you ready to fly the graphic? I know you weren't ready earlier for the audio. Okay, all right, he's ready. Let's see it. High Key Loki Noki, the LEC. All right. Oh, thank you for letting us know we're back. All right, Yamato, you told us who your high key was for the best match over the road show, but let us know, high key, low key, no key, which ones you enjoyed, which ones you didn't really care for.
Yeah, just to straight up say again, the MCO KC was definitely a highlight. It was a lot of back and forth. I think we saw good sides from players. We saw bad sides from players. I think that's all you can kind of ask for. Such a dramatic series in terms of pure entertainment. The Kalist moment where he shushes the crowd and gets a pentakill on Ash, and then the Jojo Pion interview after a bounce back and decimating the competition on Akali in the game two off of the back of a beautiful Elioya performance on the Vi. I think in regards to that, I think nothing can really top that. I think in terms of the low end, in my mind, is just the GX, the low key. It's like the GX versus, of course, KC. The way they won, I don't know. That series was very strange. Because it's like we came into the last day where the stakes were quite low. And you could kind of see it in the way that the teams drafted, the way the teams played. It's like if you come into a day and it's do or die, we're not going to be seeing Kana on Brand. Let me tell you, we're not going to be seeing Kana on Cassiopeia. It's like KC were in game states where they were far ahead. GX had game states where they were far ahead. Nothing was really honest. I think that this matters for GX, but in regards to the other teams, like top four was just already cemented. Top four was decided, and for those who don't know, obviously that is the biggest fighting point coming into this weekend, because you get a chance to redeem yourself if you lose in the first round. So the top four is decided, and the top four is super exciting. And then the no key has to be the other GX series, because when it mattered on the first 2 days, they got smacked around. Jackies got KO'd. They got completely blasted. So a lot of GX focus on my keys. Once again, I'm going to say I predicted them to not win a single match, but the way they did, I don't feel like it counts, in the sense that I don't count it on the let's say premise of the fear of our hair, like this, that nothing changes here, like the way they won is not consistent. That is more on Casey dropping the ball. Like there was 6K gold ahead, had Nashers. They could have definitely ended. They could have definitely played something else. I think it was a lot more experimental. Same thing with G2 that lost to MCoy, right? It's like that was the third career game of Nocturne, BB on Vayne. Like there was a lot of like experimental things where that G2 can definitely tighten up. But I feel like the weekend did really tell us a story of what to expect coming into playoffs. Which is, in my mind, G2 front runner, and I think Vitality is right there with them. And the big challenge will be how will they do in the BO5s, because I do think that Koi and KC is a step below G2.
Yeah, I love that. You hit the point that I was going to say in terms of the BO5s. All that's left here for the LEC through their playoffs. So no more BO3s. You got to go deeper into the well, and a little bit of that experimenting here in Madrid bodes well for some champion diversity, some surprise drafts. Jamada, what do you think of this GX heavy, high key, low key, no key segment for Yamato, and what were yours?
It's like he peeked over my notes for a change. Yeah, look, week 3. We looked at the schedule, maybe it was week 4. We made the GX bet. Week 4. Yeah, they got their pants pulled down the entire weekend. Like each day. they really weren't meant to be there. Like they were outclassed. Yeah, like the GX series, like each GX series for me is just the no key of the weekend. Yeah, on Kana, it's like he saw the patch notes, he saw all of the mid laners enjoying DFT, so he was like, "Yo, let me get in on this. Like, I want to enjoy DFT too." Like that is the only thing I can think of as to why he was playing Casio into Brand. But jokes aside, I think that's my Noki. This all 3 GX series. Even though they, like, air quotes, get the upset versus KC, didn't really feel earned. I think my low-key, you know what? my high key is actually G2 MKOI. I think that series was actually pretty damn good. Each game had a pretty defined story. I liked the draft. Do you want to call it a trap? I suppose you kind of can. Like the draft angle into Moen's Rumble, where it's just like Nocturne on, slam that guy. No, he's here. The star's back.
The star of the show's back.
Star of the show's back. Yeah, like I liked that angle of them just trying to kind of slam side lanes like that. I really enjoyed seeing this Andra champion back from JoJo, where I think that champion is just mega OP. The second that it's laning into not something that outranges it, I think it's super valuable. In so many cases, its applicability needs to be explored more. Though obviously in that game it ended up losing. I just felt like all in all, what these teams showed throughout like kind of draft to draft, yes, because the stakes were lower. Are they going to draft like this in playoffs? Not necessarily. But I think it's showing a little bit of willingness to pull out, all of these kind of slightly different champs or like angles into champs that need to be taken more, a la like Nocturne and On, or just like it's something that's going to punish weak side laners. Very, very good. And we even got a cheeky Caps LeBlanc in game 3 in that series. And even though in the end, a little bit outscaled by Galio's usefulness and just so much CC, it was still very, very fun to see. And I feel like overall, just actually, no, not overall. There just wasn't for me, there wasn't a more fun series to watch than G2 MKOI this weekend. So that's my high key. My low key was a KC versus G2, the opening series of the weekend. More because we touched on it on the last episode. And I feel like it played out pretty much exactly how we felt it would, where it was going to be mid-jungle driven for G2. And if it wasn't mid-jungle driven, then they would struggle. And for KC, it had to be about Kalist and Busio. And it felt like all 4 of those guys were they were the 4 main characters of the series. Obviously the Olaf game was crazy from Scumond in game 2. Ended up obviously running the game pretty much completely, not solo, but like pretty damn close to it. And then the game 1, again, Caps LeBlanc, Scumond though on the Skarner, just around the map early from pretty much off the first clear. He was everywhere he needed to be. So just exceptionally well played game by G2. I feel like KC, I'm not going to say they're going to feel like hard pressed about losing the 2 series, but it does make me wonder how strong this team actually is, because I think by the eye test, the one thing that I felt about KC this weekend is I don't actually know right now how high their ceiling is. Like, it doesn't feel higher than G2's. It almost maybe doesn't even feel higher than Vitality's. And maybe I'm reading into it a bit too much because it feels like they only got one real series this weekend. But yeah, I left this roadshow weekend feeling a little bit worse off about KC, and it wasn't even inherently about the results. It was more about the gameplay displayed. So yeah.
Yamato, what do you think about that specifically in terms of KC's overall view after the roadshow and the weekend that they had?
I feel like KC throughout the entire year hasn't improved. I think this iteration is basically just individually good players that have good lane phases and good team fighting. And everything in between needs to be carried by gold leads, because I do think that their overall team decision-making, their way of using support to put vision, their way of keeping tempo in the game and understanding which part of the map is theirs, I don't think they are good at this. I think MKOI is better at this. I think Vitality is better at this. I think G2 is much better at this. And to some degree, GX also better. It's just that KC, when they get to team fights, either they win the game by crushing you in lane, which happens, like Busio and Kalist are very, very good laners, Kana too. And Yike is very creative in terms of finding early gank angles. But when it comes to connecting, you can just watch the KC VODs and you'll always see either the jungle is like 3 seconds late, super 3 seconds late. You can see them lingering around a little bit too long, being desperate for plays that are not going to happen if the enemy is aware of you. And I do think that this is where they find themselves in rougher game positions. But I have to reaffirm once again that KC individually, they are really, really strong. So if you're like an even footing or you're drafting weaker matchups into them, it's very easy to lose against them. But I do feel like this is something that G2, for example, is very well aware of. They make sure that BB is playing the better side of a matchup. And Kled into Sam, for example, the last time they beat them as well in the best of 3 is like he played the Rumble right into Kana, which is just a very strong laner too. And in terms of the overall impact, moving Supon and jungle into mid against them, it's very easy to shut out Yahoo. Like I think that in terms of how they connect with them, play around them, with how the meta has shifted, especially from winter, I do think things have gotten worse for KC in terms of what is expected from them, because I do think that their mid laner is their weakest, the weakest player on the team. So I have been disappointed in KC's development. The comparison I make is they remind me a lot to Gen.G in the sense that Gen.G looks very good when their individual performers are overperforming the enemy. But if they don't, then you can see them being challenged on these topics of, playing fundamentally good team-oriented League of Legends. And I think KC hasn't improved at this at all. But against, MCOY, against GX, against Vitality, they can beat you in a heads-up team fight, right? But G2, I think, is just very, very well mixed. And I do think that Vitality is also up there in terms of potential. But I'm a little bit more, scared to make the full-on prediction that Vitality is going to be much better than KC in the playoffs, due to the fact that best of fives is a different beast, and playoffs is something that plays out a little bit different. But on paper, I do think that G2 Vitality should be the clear 1 and 2, with KC number 3 and MCOY 4 for me.
Yeah, you've kind of hit the nail on the head that I was kind of leading you to, which was you talked about great laners in Kana, Kaliss, Busio, Yike in team fights, great. Yahoo, I just feel like is holding it together. He's getting the pass right now of just being on the squad and not inting and not flipping the lane, which is why back in the day when he was on DRX, he was preferred over UCal because UCal had higher highs and lower lows. But Yahoo allowed the team to be able to play the game later on. But if he gets focused, then what? If a draft goes the way, or a early game focus goes the way of camping a lane, camping bot lane, and you're like, have Yahoo beat us? We have yet to see that. And in best of fives, as pools get smaller and smaller, that's going to be a big question for KC needing to answer. So friends at home, those of you that watched the LEC Roadshow, what was your favorite one? What was your least favorite one? Let us know in the comments. And while you're there, like and subscribe here at Last Free Nation so you don't miss a second of the best esports coverage in the game. Now, one thing you might have missed, because not a lot of people are watching it, is an interview with Dignitas's jungler XU after the series that they had. Cloud Sicky, who's been grinding away at it in the NA scene for a while. I've enjoyed his interviews, not always his delivery, but he asked the right questions. Just gave space for XU on how the season went after their loss that eliminated him. XU had a pretty quotable quote, which we'll get into right now. This is this week's Everything's on Fire. So Cloud Sicky with the interview with XU revealing that retirement was kind of on the cards during the season because of how hard it was to play the game. Here's the quote. I didn't tell anyone outside the org, but I'd considered retirement during the split just because it's so hard to play on this team. To have a good team, you either need to respect each other or like each other, and we have neither of that on this team. Being in this dig house for 10 hours a day is so soul draining that when I get home, I can't even will myself to watch VODs or play the game. That was part of the reason I considered retirement. XU has been very candid and open in interviews and in content about his personality and this kind of, which is upbeat, enjoys the game, has an edge, and not shy of stepping up and talking smack. I had very fond things to say about his teammates last year from DSG, where a lot of them are over on Sentinels now, and compared that team to the team that he was on now in the long form interview that Cloud Sidkey did. And it just is tough when you hear that. The year's not over. Obviously, the split's over, but the year's not over for XU and for Dignitas. And to have something like that come out that is so damning, and Cloud Sidkey did not ask baiting questions. This was something that XU obviously felt and was on his mind. I should also mention that the general manager of Dignitas, who is Jonathan, he was the architect of that NRG roster. Funny enough, a lot of NRG players from the 2022 season on this roster, 2023 season, are on this roster as well. And XU did an interview. They had a conversation later on publicly on Twitch with Raz to kind of, it was said in the heat of the moment kind of thing. But when you hear this kind of thing, Jamada, there are so many parts of it here. What is that like when it is that dire that this is what comes out of it in the middle of the split?
That's because that's the thing. You said there for a moment whilst giving us the synopsis. The split's still going. They got one more series. It's a nothing burger. It doesn't mean anything for them. It doesn't mean anything for Sentinels. But they still have one more series to go on stage. So yeah, it's difficult to break down things like this because we've not really had any internal look at Dig full and proper this split, as far as I'm aware. I don't think they're making any content surrounding the team and the progress over the weeks. So I don't really have much of an impression on XU as a player, nor as a person, but I think what you hit on there was the important thing. It was unprompted, completely unprompted. And I think being in team circumstances where you're losing, it's already going to be difficult. But the way that he spoke about it just makes me think, well, what's going on then? Is there a player that's bringing down the environment even more amongst these losses? Is it coaching staff? Is it staff above the coaching staff? Because when players are losing, you don't... because XU's been around, he's kind of a middle round player. He's been around for a fair while, right? But a lot of people will still kind of consider him, mentally, to a lot of people, he'll almost have rookie status to a degree. So it's to have someone like XU go, yeah, I'm thinking about retiring off of a bad split. It does kind of make you wonder what the hell is going on in Dig, especially because, again, Dig as an organization heavily critiqued for their roster moves, their management, their handling of many, many public situations. And I didn't actually catch that stream of the GM presumably and Raz kind of doing damage control. Also, shout out Raz shaking bum for Dignitas and helping put out the fire. But yeah, for me, talking about, I don't feel like I can trust my players. Or one bad thing happens and all of a sudden whatever trust that was present in that game is gone for the rest of it. And all of a sudden, not because I don't think this roster is good, but the context that he's giving when you watch Dig games, it now makes more sense. We can't win a game if it's not perfect. So we play slow and we play meticulous and we try not to make mistakes. And yeah, that is how Dig have played for a majority of the split. Is that they're playing not to lose, every single, except for XU. Funnily enough, I think as much as I can criticize him as a player, XU at least does try and make things happen inside of the games. Whether you agree with the angles he takes or not, and most of the time I think a sane person is going to disagree. at least he's trying to make things happen pretty consistently. Whereas a lot of what he's saying lines up. So I don't know. Maybe Dig is just like we crack jokes about like Fnatic and Cloud9 being like spiritually the same organization in terms of like results and expectations. Except I guess Fnatic tends to make worlds at least as of late. But maybe Dig is just the environment, the environment twin of Fnatic, because I can't see how you can be a team as loosey as Dig and you've got players thinking about retiring. Like, are we doing like torture methods in between scrim sets? Like, what's happening? I don't. That for me is just the most damning part. Making people feel to the point where they have to just like tap out. They don't want to review after script. Players are hungry. Like the default setting for a player is like improvement. I really want to make that clear. Like, there's a lot of narrative around how NA players for a long time have been lazy and the culture is different to the rest of the world, this, that, the other. But the default is still wanting to improve with a lot of these players if you ask them. So yeah, it just feels wrong. Like, it just makes you think, what evil is sat within Dig to make a player as seemingly positive as XU feel the things that he was talking in that interview.
Yeah, Yamato, I go to you because on the coaching side, have you ever experienced a culture that gets to this point in the middle of a season and then have something kind of leak out like that? Not even leak, just in an interview, an official channel.
I haven't personally experienced it. Like, I've been in, teams where everything was rough and it felt hopeless, and there was almost like a relief when it was over for us. I remember my first coaching gig in Meet Your Makers. It was so tumultuous with the org and the problems with Selfie and him not wanting to play and whatever. Like, it was messy because the trust was just broken from like day one. So it was a very exhausting split because you feel like effort doesn't matter, right? I think that's something that really drains you. I think burnout comes from doing things that feel meaningless too, where maybe you don't have like you pour in hours into something and nothing moves because a part of you also feels that you can't trust your teammates. Like, that's a part that can be very, very damning and bad. But to take just a different angle on the topic, I do think that players that feel the need to say this in interviews, this might sound harsh, but players that feel the need to say this in interviews and utter the words that he specifically said, I think the odds are you're not going to make it. You're not going to succeed. I think that most of the time it's a bad look to give your team and your org a bad look, especially mid-season. I can imagine, Dig, you're losing and you feel like you want to save face. You want to make sure that you get out there somehow. You want to speak up about the things that bother you. The thing is, the players that succeed are the ones that soldier on, and figure out a way. And that's like the harsh reality. I feel sympathy for the guy. I feel pity for the guy, right? 100%. But which team is going to look at this first, the gameplay side, and also now on top of that, the interview? How does that reflect on your potential chances in the future, right? Because I think there's no organization out there that can promise that things are not going to get hard. They can promise they are going to do things way better than Dig, probably, but things do get hard, things get tough, and in those moments, all you can do is fight it with resilience and discipline, and that's something that you build up by doing your absolute best during the hardest times. Imagine if BDD said this shit, like BDD is the most extreme example of it, but we have to pick out examples very carefully because we are led by them. And BDD never had a thought like this. Maybe he had a thought like this in his mind, but never uttered it, because you kind of speak it into concrete existence there then, and you create a circumstance where breaking through and growing out of it becomes more difficult because you have put your circumstance in a box then. So I'll be always very careful about that.
I appreciate. This is why I wanted to bring this up. It was like I wanted to have you use your experience there because there is that side of it. Like a lot of the time you keep it in house. Not every time when someone pops off on their team or their teammate does it result in changing that teammate you were popping off about. In the case of Inspire and FlyQuest and Jensen getting swapped out and Quad coming in, you brought in BDD. There was here it is. This is actually the image I was looking for. There we go. It's not the KT BDD. It's this one. If you want to fly that one up there, Light. We found the trading cards of I think the 2022 season that BDD was in Nongshim, and he was just doing his gun pose. They don't do it anymore, but he was doing it, and I just thought it was the most hilarious thing of like, yep, I'm on this team. Okay, there we go. It's up. That's all we need to see. We can take it down now. BDD didn't need to say anything. But this one just a interesting situation, and we'll see what happens with Dig moving forward. There are so many pieces from that NRG run, maybe trying to see if there's any life in it left, because it's general manager Jonathan, Ignar, and FBI were part of that NRG roster, as well as Palafox. Then you have Photon, who is there and has gone through a lot of crap, and then XU. It just feels a little, I don't know, like maybe it was like, okay, here are these parts, and let's see if XU and Photon can fit. We'll see what happens here in the future with that squad. Let us know what you think about the situation over at Dig and the interview itself in the comments below. Let's stay LCS pilled for this week's Galaxy Brain Club, as LCS had a slow burn until we got to this week and had some matches that mattered. It was the lower end squads trying to play for their playoff lives and their split lives, as we had Sentinels against Shopify and DSG versus Dignitas. And then we had the top side of the bracket play against each other. It was Cloud9 versus FlyQuest and Lion versus Team Liquid. Let's get into this week's Galaxy Brain Club. All right, Yamato, your boys were in action. I guess your boys were in action in Cloud9 versus FlyQuest. They eke out a 2-1 win. Dom with the banger tweet. Can't wait to see what video FlyQuest come out with about this one. What did you see in this series?
I think FlyQuest is a strange team to play against. I think they're very unique in the sense that they kick without charging up. Like it comes out of nowhere. Like leg kick, bam. Like they're
no hip talk. Just there.
Yeah, it's just like some crazy kickboxers. You've seen these TIE fighters kicking down bamboo trees. It's like, it's very impressive, but what did this tree do to you? There's something about it that is interesting and gives them advantages in the game, but there's also an inconsistency to it. It's like, I think that they caught C9 off guard in terms of the map read many times, so that it's like getting caught on mid or like getting caught in many situations, or not expecting FlyQuest to have a certain amount of numbers in certain positions because they're just giving up wave somewhere to participate in the fight, which makes FlyQuest awkward. But you could see that C9 is just like the smarter team, the stronger team too. And a lot of the FlyQuest advantages came off of the back of exactly what I described. And I think especially in the final game, FlyQuest, finally kicked the tree that was a little bit too tough, like the invade and the flash over the wall, and they kind of threw the whole game from the get-go, and they were on the back foot, and then the game kind of ended in 26 minutes, because I think that FlyQuest, as mentioned before, I think they were just very inconsistent in their approach, even though there are moments where we're like, oh, damn, this goes kind of hard, because there's an aggression there where they all commit to fights in a very certain way that I think is enjoyable. But the consistency just isn't there, and I think from the C9 side, like the bottleneck, that's the word that has been used so much on Twitter, but the bottleneck is just their mechanical skill, which bleeds into the champion pool. I think that as they proceed, I think this team is one of probably the smartest team in terms of how they play together. But there's just moments in the in-between where mechanically it's like, oof, it just looks bad. It's like Vi engages that are just poorly timed. You have moments where people flash on top of themselves like APA did. There was this voicecomm moment where Vulcan was being passive-aggressive as all hell, where APA says, sorry guys, I just flashed at myself. And then Vulcan just says, yeah, that's the second time it happens this series. Which is mental, man.
No way, dude. That's so Vulcan though. That's so Phil. That's so Phil.
So passive aggressive. We had a lot of cool voicecomm moments on this day. But yeah, I think FlyQuest, maybe they can beat Team Liquid, but I don't think they're gonna crack Lion and of course C9 when it comes to the playoffs. I think BO5s make it even harder to win because you need to win 3 games in a very awkward way. And we could see it the last time around, even in winter. Flag was looking interesting. They looked exciting. They looked like there was something there. But the substance quickly just disappeared as people were more aware of what they might pick in the jungle as curveballs, and I do think this is something that becomes dated as the split proceeds, as teams become more consistent.
Jamada, I mean, the way that Yamato described it sounded like these two teams played out the way that we thought going into this series. Is that what you felt as well? In brains from Cloud9 and a little bit too much energy, too much gusto from FlyQuest?
Yeah, I think my expectations were met pretty much 1-to-1. I think the most impressive game from Fly was the one where they still were incredibly messy, and that was game 1. And I think the reason why it even looked as good as it was that C9 were running effectively like one form of fully committed engage in Blabber, and FlyQuest have almost unanimously a peel back comp, right? It was Milio, Cassio, Shen. All of these champions are very happy to invite engagers in, and they just constantly were in the river first, and it just made Blabber's life hell. That said, still scrappy, and C9 still looked really competitive for a majority of that game. So it's very, very difficult for me to see FlyQuest like cracking top 3 unless it's real bad day from C9 TL Lion in a best of 5. And so I didn't really feel like I learned much about FlyQuest from the series, other than, and it's funny because we hear comms so often and we get like these insights. They still need to take more time to calm down, not get baited into plays, and just assess what their actual win conditions are at the specific frame that they're doing it. And the reason why I say it's funny because we hear comms is, despite Griffin's age and his seemingly like immature stature on social media, interviews, etc., the guy is not dumb. He's very smart and he is very measured and he is quite meticulous. But it's like the thoughts that he has in his brain and even the things that he says to his teammates aren't matching the gameplay I'm seeing and the decisions he makes on screen consistently in those moments. So I think it's just about matching those up for him specifically. But again, my bottom and the most important bottom line for me is I still haven't really left the C9 series feeling over the top confident about this team. And I don't know if I'm still being doomer, but I feel like C9 should be swatting away this FlyQuest. Like, very comfortably. Very, very comfortably. And I think the fact that this was a series where, game 1 was competitive, game 2 was ultra competitive as well, and frankly, could have easily been a FlyQuest 2-0. You know, I can't remember the peak of their gold lead. My brain is telling me it was like 4 or 5k, which in NA is not really a 4 or 5k gold lead. The more you watch NA, the more you realize that's basically the same as being even in that region. So they could have got dry 2-0'd, and then in game 3, like Yamato said, they just kind of overcommitted to 1 or 2 plays in the first 7 or 8 minutes of the game, and it just made the game mega unplayable from that point onwards. And C9 actually did use their brains, and they did make map plays, and they did just kind of let FlyQuest tumble over themselves throughout the series. But I still don't feel confident about C9. Like, this might be the most fraudulent, like, undefeated team in a regular season that I've watched in a while.
Yeah, you know, when you brought up what he's saying doesn't match the play in terms of Griffin, that player in the LCK is Kanavi. Like, Kanavi is so calm and insanely respectful. And I don't think, unless I said that, you would know that, because he's just such a psychopath in the best ways. I think Griffin is the same way. It is very, very unique to hear him talk in a normal conversation and feel like I'm losing brain cells. But then when we listen to the in-game comms, it makes sense. It's very coherent in what he's trying to do. All right, as we move away from that series, we move towards 2 versus 3. It was Lion versus TL, with the favorites according to Polymarket in Lion at 26% chance of being the winner of the spring, taking the victory 2-1 in an explosive final team fight that could have gone either way. They stomped into the first series against TL. Second series, close until it wasn't. Drake stacking. And then in the third series, just an explosive, bombastic pentakill here for Berserker to close it on off. They were ahead by a ton, but either way, a penta is a penta with 280 carries dueling it out until the health bars go all the way. Jamada, what did you make of this series?
This might be my favorite series of the split so far. It kind of had everything, you know. There was a stomp in there. The game 2 and 3 were incredibly close. Besides maybe like kind of out there-ish picks, really, this is a lot of mostly standard drafting for a majority of these teams. That was the only thing I was really missing, and I'm just gonna take the biggest bite off the bone that I can straight away. The inspired comms in game 2.
Yeah,
like, because this hopefully it doesn't turn into a whole thing. But for anyone who didn't catch the comms, I'll talk about them before I actually talk about the game.
You can talk about them before you do the impression. Yeah.
We get comms from Inspired, and who knows actually when these comms were said, because sometimes they do them semi-live, sometimes they they pull them from a few minutes prior. But he's instructing Saint, and he's saying, Saint, you did this TP, whatever, around Herald, etc., etc. You are the carrier of the game. You need to make the play. And he did it in a very inspired way. And I think if you're not used to listening to people get spoken to like that, you're not going to think it's positive. And then I think that just the hilarity of that matter is that quite literally 30 seconds later, Saint does take matters into his own hands. And even though they're probably going to lose the game on this push anyway, he flashes and fails a charm. He's looking for the pick that that Inspired has asked him to do. And then he just full-blown max chills, lowest cortisol possible, just leans back in his chair, hands behind his head with a massive smile on his face, which was just incredible. And forgot to mention the best part of the comms there. Saint told him to shut up.
Shut up.
He was just like, shut up. Wait, shut up. Into doing that. It was just fantastic. So yeah, that part in game 2 was incredible. If you're fishing for drama out of that, I think the realistic take on hearing what Inspired said there was and I think if you've got any kind of competitive experience, this should be where you land. Doesn't need to be talking about what happened 15-20 minutes ago, because it wasn't relevant to the next point. It just that part felt very unproductive and not useful to the comms that he did give after, which is Saint, you are the carry of this game. You need to make a play, and we need to follow you, right? Very split down the middle. But I did feel like Inspired was getting a little bit more emotional than normal inside of that series, and I feel like you could see it in some of his plays, especially the Nocturne game in particular, the third game in the series, where it was like just a bit more split. Like Lion, when they're playing at their best, are to steal Yamato's language here for a second, they're a bit vegan, right? They are very passive. They will sit back and let resources get taken if they're taking resources somewhere else on the map, right? But in between that, we're actually getting Inspired that was just kind of psycho-owing every now and again, and kind of making plays that you wouldn't expect Inspired to make. So yeah, I think all in all, the series was just fun, more so from the second that we got comms in game 2, because then game 3 ended up being Saint popping off on Silas, getting a quadra kill, just kind of off an ARAM, everyone sat mid situation. And then Berserker, who was kind of the secondary thrower of game 2, getting caught on mid, I think 2 or 3 times by TL, and kind of granting them ways back into the game. Him then redeeming himself and getting the penna, whilst Inspired was kind of, I don't want to say full trolling, but kind of soft trolling. Game 3, off the back of the comms, was cinema. It ended up being cinema.
Yamato, one, can you give us a little Inspired take? 2, what do you make of this series, on both sides here?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I was disappointed coming into game 3 that instead of what was a very good Kazakh spot, they went for Sejuani. I do think Jose Diodo is the most important player on Team Liquid right now, and just watching how their bot lane lanes and them losing as they are, and lacking leadership in the latter parts of the game is so surprising, because I thought that would be the backbone of the team, and I think that Quid has never really come online on this team. So I think that was really shown in this series too, especially in game 3. In my mind, I don't think that Silas is a strong champion. I don't even think there was a strong Silas spot, but the impact of the Silas and how he got ahead in the game, I think this was very, very problematic for Team Liquid. And for what the problems I thought would be for Team Liquid, I didn't think they would look like this. Because I've repeated this so many times, but at the end of the offseason, the fact that they got Quid and kept the ball lane was supposed to be like a massive thing, and we haven't seen it in 2 splits. I think that this was the big game. This is the time to beat Lion, and I don't come into playoffs feeling super hopeful about their chances to beat either C9 or Lion, and I think that's important for the league to have. I also reflect a little bit on Morgan, some of his TP angles, and some of his his lane play is fine. Like the Gragas and the Jace was solid, but some of the Jax TP angles that we saw were criminal, and he's just kind of reminds me of the stereotype top lane import that comes over to North America. It's he lanes well, plays Renekton and Gnar and Jax, and just does his own thing, and you hope he shows up, and I feel like Morgan fits that bill, and I think the other top laners are kind of outgrowing him in terms of the impact in team fights, like a Thanatos that we saw in the previous series, where he found very important Gnar ult angles. On the topic of Inspired, I'm not so sure, I saw the moment. I imagine the team works in a way where they're in agreement with how Inspired works, and he gets a pass on overly reviewing the game. And I think the shut up moment from Saint was simply him I'm playing right now, shut up and then you can flame me. Just reviewing in the game, the relevancy to what's next. Is the important angle. Communicating that is super important, and you just have to, of course, keep it a fine line between venting and making sure that you talk about what's next and what's expected from you. are two very different things, but they're very close to each other in terms of what they are. And Saint just wanted the game. He said, "Shut up," and then he flashed into 5 people and died. That's what's up. Happens. Inspired's form as a player, I don't think that this regular season has been super impressive from his side. I think that I've mentioned it this entire year. I always said that I thought that Skumond is a better jungler, but not the better player in terms of value he brings to the team. I think in terms of jungling, I think that Inspired is not in top form. But that's a privilege that Inspired and Lion has earned, because in the end, the playoffs, the matches that will come and the matches that you are going to prepare for, I think that there is a blessing in the fact that you know how the standings are going to be. So mentally, you can prepare for the playoffs already 5-6 weeks ahead. While over in the LEC, there were chances of the top end teams not even making playoffs until the last weeks. Obviously, we didn't expect them to not make it, like G2 or whatever, but it's still a different kind of frame of mind in terms of your preparation phase. And I do think the Lions is just gunning for playoffs, and they are experimenting with their top lane. Castle came in for one game, played the Rise Flex into the Rumble. The experimenting, they gave us some clarification from the coach. He said that they're doing a 6-man roster because he didn't agree with the angle of just sending in Castle for the heck of it, because they're different profiles. And that's something, I can see the benefit of a 6-man, but it can also be a negative. So it's going to be interesting to see how they navigate that and how they use that, especially in BO5s, because it can be a weapon. But even for, of course, the LCP team that had Rest and Driver, in the end, I just felt, Driver's just better. Just play him all the time. What are we doing, and just and be done with it.
Yeah, it was CFO, right? And Coach Chowie, who also spent some time over at TSM and is one of the most revered players in Asia outside of the major regions in terms of the LMS, LCP, PCS, whatever it was called, and holding that together. And he did it with such empathy, I would say, for each player in their career, whereas right off the jump, it was like, I don't even want to make this change. The owner made this change, and I'm rolling with it. We're all rolling with it, and we'll see what happens. There was a lot of farming for Castle in that game, and then one vital moment where on the Rise, he's finally farmed. Let's see if he can assassinate Jan. He's not able to. Jan lives on 1 HP, and the game kind of catapulted out of control from there. So we'll continue to see the experiment for the side of Lion Gaming and their top side of the map. All right. Jamada, final words on our Battle of the Bottom. I guess Sentinels and Shopify.
Those days were email days, man. Dig looked depressed. There's not really much to say. Now that we since the XU, it just makes more sense. And then I do feel a little bit happy for Sentinels. I do think Shopify are just a really weak opponent, but and I doubt they'll be making playoffs. I think actually it's DSG and Shopify are playing next week. Well, I guess technically this weekend now, because we're recording on Monday. And I'm pretty sure winner goes to playoffs when a loser is out. I think those are just flat out the stakes. So that will be fun. That will be a fun series, because I don't necessarily feel like the Skies have done anything crazy to this split to really make them feel or at all look like the favorites or be in some kind of ascendancy seat just because they've won 2 series and Shopify have only won 1.
Yeah. All right. Well, stakes continued to move on up, even for the lower end there for the LCS. One more team getting eliminated. See how it all shakes up. And of course, the bigger matchup there at the end, TL versus Cloud9 to close out the season. All right, before we continue on over in the LCK, it's time to remind you about our friends over at Drip Drop. This message is sponsored by Drip Drop. I used to think that electrolytes were just for athletes or super intense workouts, but Drip Drop has totally changed that. It's become my go-to reset button for busy days, brain fog, travel, or whatever. Staying hydrated keeps me clear-headed and ready for whatever is coming up next. Now, Drip Drop is doctor-developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better, which is exactly what your 2026 needs. Think support for busy days, long workouts, and everything in between. Drip Drop uses science-based formulas for rapid hydration, so you feel results while getting 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drinks. And Drip Drop is trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and over 90% of top college and pro teams because it's engineered to hydrate you faster and more effectively than water alone. Perfect for your New Year's goals and staying on track with them. Also, Drip Drop has dropped their newest breakthrough here. It is Zero Sugar Plus, a formula with an advanced blend of 6 key electrolytes, 15 essential vitamins and nutrients, and no sugar or artificial sweeteners. It's the complete package that truly checks all the boxes and then some, right? Jamada, who's had this nonstop here.
Yeah, it's been wonderful, man, especially my return to the gym over the last few weeks. Just that feeling of not being kind of bloated / slow when you're just drinking water. Having that electrolyte boost it just keeps you tapped in. It keeps you locked in when you're active, and just in general, just day-to-day stuff when you're on it. It feels fantastic. So favorite flavor for me, just the cherry limeade stuff. It's great. It's actually just two of the. I'm running low on it. I need more. But yeah, that for me is just that main thing of feeling just sharp, just a little bit sharper throughout the day.
There are 16 original flavors, including cherry limeade, plus the 8 Zero Sugar Plus options that fit seamlessly into your routine, morning, pre-workout, post-workout, or midday slump. And to make it easy, Drip Drop has flexible subscription options, so you're never stuck without proven fast hydration, whether you're hitting the gym, juggling work, or just trying to stay consistent with your reset. Now, Drip Drop is offering our listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use the promo code LFN for 20% off. That's dripdrop.com with the promo code LFN for 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com using the promo code LFN. Thanks to our friends over at Drip Drop. All right. Now that we're back, let's dive into this week's fraud alert. It's Hanjin Brion, their winning streak, and the likelihood of them being we can start with playoff team. That's 6th. But if they're 5th, are they a legend group team, a top team in the LCK? Well, maybe not top team, but top half team in the LCK. Let's dive into it. This week's fraud alert. All right. I gave all of the brositivity here, Yamato. You can bring us back down to broth, if you would like. Or you can tell us the bruth. Keep going. I can keep going if you want. Or you can just take over now and give us your rating on fraud alert.
What were you guys saying? Broth? Soup?
Broth.
It's
no, like
Earth.
Broth. Yeah.
Broth.
That's the bro thing in Twitch chat. You just put bro in front of every word that makes sense. Bromentum,
Birth,
Broptimism, brotations.
The birth
like
doesn't work as rotations works. Yeah, I kind of like bro. I think they are playing well. I actually don't like. I think the teams around them that they are beating to make it to playoffs. Now those are the frauds. You know. BFX, cooked, boiled, as like a can of tuna, looks fine with Taeyong, sympathy, but, rough going. Nongshim, oof, it's not a good look, man. Like, no matter how bad Lehends played, Diable coming into the team and then Lehends getting benched after one series, it just makes him look diabolic. We just need like all the Mbappe memes of him being a dictator. We need him on Diable, I don't know what went down, but it just looks funny. It's like Lehends gets benched. Here's Pliata. That sounds like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like stranglehold or some shit. Here's Pliata. Yeah, being a Fearex, I feel, Diable is just elo held on that team. And finally, we have D plus Kia with their last streak of losses with the added context of cvMax flaming the shit out of them in the LCK green room. It's just, bro is looking solid. I think the change up in mid lane has helped him a lot. I think that Teddy is just a top 3 ADC. Like, he's insane. Like, he does the occasional mistake at minute 30 where he gets caught, but if you get through that, then bro win, like, he has like one mistake in the late game that he just does, but other than that, he's just firing off. And additionally, I thought Namgun was the type of player at Namgun casting. I thought these two guys were just straight ass. I thought these guys are just not gonna be good ever, but now they're having like their effort perfect renaissance suddenly. Like, they're just playing well. Like, they're playing the matchups good, and they're actually like relevant in the game. I feel like this team has really hit their stride all at the same time. Like, I think everyone's doing their part, and I do think that the change up in mid lane has helped super much. And it's fun to see always that every coaching staff just has world champions on them, because they got Duke and Song. It's just funny. There's just world champs scattered all over the league. And I think bro is legit. I wouldn't call them fraudulent at all. I think this AO streak is very legit. I give them like the fraud alert. If anything, is just I don't know. There's something about LCK where the most random players just lock in for like 2-3 weeks, and you're like, oh, okay, will this last? Probably not. That's the only sense of points that I would give to the fraud alert scale. So let's give it a 2 out of 10. I think the teams around and that they're beating for playoffs way more fraudulent. We got 8, 9s, and 10s there, bro. It's like a club somewhere in Gangnam.
Also, I like that. Also, their opponents for this upcoming week are the DN Supers, who are very much in last place, and Kiwoom DRX, who just got cinema'd by Gen.G and Hanwha in front of the Vietnam crowd at the home front. Jamada, what do you make of the bros?
They're going to finish on 6 wins. They're going to finish on 6 wins. That's what I think of the bros. They're gonna fuck up. They're gonna drop one of these series to
Rude,
like to supers or care. Rude,
very rude.
That's what's gonna end up happening, and then they're gonna be a stress ball for DK, T1, Gen.G, and HLE for the remainder of the split. I am gonna be honest with you. Okay, I have two stances, right?
Okay.
I think it would fundamentally be worse for the LCK if Hanjin make it into the top 5 group next split, because that's the format still, right? Is the Rise Legend
and Rise. What is it? Nirvana and Ascend. What was the other one?
Yeah,
LPL. Yeah.
I can't
Which is weird, though, because Nirvana is ascending, no? And
yeah, that's what I thought it was. That's what I thought it was.
Achieving enlightenment.
No. All right.
Sorry, Jamada.
No.
Please.
It's a valid point, Yamato. You bring up a very important point. That said, if they are in the top 5, do we not think that they are just not going to get abused by Hanwha, Gen.G, and KT and T1 the whole
bro,
of summer?
Whoever is 5th, that will happen to. I mean, it happened last year to Nongshim.
Bro, I think that this year's top 5, it will not go down as bad as it did last year. That's just how I'm feeling. I feel like there's a little bit more parity in the top 5 compared to last year's top 5. I think it's hard to disagree with that statement, in my opinion. I think last year was a little bit more set in there being like a top 2, top 3 in Gen.G and T1, and then Hanwha were kind of like the air quote soft trailers of that top 3. This year, at least going by what's happening in spring, these guys can all kind of beat each other to a degree. Hanwha obviously kind of the outlier now. And that's not to say that Gen.G can't just bounce back and go back to being the, infallible Gen.G. Anyway, bro will just... They will get their pants pulled down more than what was happening to Nongshim last year. If DK are in that 5th slot, at least I can see them surviving. At least I can see them surviving to a degree. that's just kind of how I feel. And I don't think it's going to be a situation of if they are in that 5th slot and then, the playoffs or the play-in portion starts, that they're then magically going to be better than DK will be. Just because they've been getting abused by the top teams for like 4, however, I was going to say 5 weeks, but for that extended period of time.
4 weeks,
I don't
4
see
weeks,
it.
I think it is. Yeah.
4 weeks, yeah. Like, I don't see it going down like that with Burr. I'm sorry, I just don't. I don't think this team they don't have the capacity to really improve that much, in my mind. I can't see them going much further than where they are right now. So I think it's actually, in this weird way, would it be good for their org? Because, they only play against the most recognizable teams in the league for 4 weeks? Yes, of course. Would it be a massive hit on their mental health? Getting abused on stage by T1, KT, Gen.G, and Hardware? Probably. So I think it's actually within their best interest to just try and just lock down the 6th place spot, go to playoffs, and just enjoy the bottom. The bottom group and see if they can level up off of farming the teams below them, because they've very much set the precedent that they are better than the 4 teams below them, right? That's where I'm at. Go and farm them for all of summer. See if you can scrounge some scrims from the team slightly above you, and then go from there. Because I think stage-wise, if they end up in this top 5 group, it's going to be a horror show. So I don't think they're fraudulent, because this is technically supposed to be a fraud alert. I almost think that the fraud alert itself is a bit fraudulent. I'm in agreement with Yamato on the rating. It's like a 2. It's like a 2 to maybe a 2.5 or 3. All right. They are where they need to be right now. They don't need to go anywhere else. They can stay where they are right now. Yeah. They should stay their ass in 6th place and just try and lock that position down. I think it will be the best case scenario for them.
Yeah, as much as you're
Jamada, sorry.
Yes.
Jamada, put something on the line. They play D+ in 2 weeks. Put something on the line. Do it. You're so confident. Bro's not going to be 5th. This is the game that will decide it against D+. Put something on the line.
I don't even have nothing to put on the line, man. I'm broke. I'm chopped. I'm charred. Like I can't put my appearance on the line. Like
we already did.
We already did with GX. Look,
what if it's mustache bet, the top part. You can keep the beard, but you get rid of this part right here, right?
Oh, get rid of the mustache. Nah, you're mad. I thought you wanted me to just have a mustache. Nah, you're mad. Get rid of just the mustache specifically. And look like I'm from the 1800s, like Wild West. No, we'll figure out.
I want cornrows Jamada to come back.
Oh, the rose.
Okay, we can arrange that.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Wait, can you do rose, Yamato?
Me?
Yeah.
What are you saying? I don't have enough hair, bro.
Just for a week, you go
bro,
get it done.
Chest hair, maybe.
No, get the little baby braids, man. The little baby braids, little baby box braids, man. Yeah, man.
Oh.
Take the other side. I'll go back to having cornrows instead of having my bum ass afro out. Yeah. If bro finish 6th, if bro finish 6th, your ass has got to go to a hairdresser and try and figure out how the hell to get that short ass hair in some box braids. How about that?
Nah, blood. You're the one that came with this. You're the one that came with conviction. Said bro is not making top 5 and all that jazz. You're the one. I'm not putting anything on the line, bro.
Okay, but you want me to put something on the line? You put something on the line at the same time, then.
Hey, you're the one with conviction. And I think, honestly, you look fucking fantastic in cornrows.
Aw. Thank you. I do miss him. But, yeah. All right, sure. We'll go back to having cornrows. I'll go, I'll phone my peoples.
All right.
Get it sorted
the bros bet has been made. He'll go back to corn bros if the bros are able to.
Corn bros. Yes.
Corn bros.
The corn bros will be back if the bros get the job done and make it into top. Beat D+.
I've got it.
Just beat D+.
I've actually got it. Wait. I've got it. I will as long as my why am I flaunting on the name? My sister-in-law, as long as she agrees, I'll literally try and get like the bro logo cornered on the top of my head. How about that?
My God.
How about
that?
that?
Awesome.
How about that?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah?
Done.
Cool. If
Well,
she
your
agrees to
mama
it,
is
because she's the one that
fucking
does my
go.
hair. So, but that we can do that. I'm down for that. Sure.
Damn. Jamada is about to be Jama bro for real. If this all works out here and do the funniest thing to cvMax. Jamada's, I think, scenario. Holy shit. Light. That's crazy. That's crazy. Yamato, you see this on the stream?
Have you got the stream up?
No, he doesn't see it. He doesn't see it.
Yamato, you need to pull the stream up.
He doesn't see it.
For the podcast listeners,
Oh
we're
shit!
we're staring at an image of YamatoCannon with corners, and I can't lie, it kind of suits him.
It looks good as hell, man.
Damn.
Oh,
I wish I had
suits
that
him.
much hair, bro. I wish.
You know what though?
Pulling.
We needed to pick out a picture of you in one of the Gucci tracksuits, man. Then it would bang. Then it would bang
Really?
extra hard.
All right,
Really?
Light's saving his job right now. Make it happen, Light. All right, it is
Bro,
the.
I look like Kim Kardashian is about to ruin my life, bro. Like,
You gotta type. You look like you gotta type. Oh shit, that's good. All right, the Corn Bros bet is in effect now alongside the Los Gigantes bet. We'll get the Corn Bros bet in before we lose our hair because of Giant X. Jamada is right for his apprehension about being the 5th place squad in the Legend group and just getting pounded the whole time. Nongshim did go and lose in the play-ins. They beat the Bros in the first round and then lost to who they lose to? D+ and then B&K afterwards, I believe it was. And didn't even make it out. So yes, there is a precedent there for once you're done with your season, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah, there it is. They lost 3-1 to Nongshim and 3-0 or 3-1 to B&K and 3-0 to D+ in the play-in. So Jamada, maybe onto something. Maybe it's better to be 6th, top of the rise or bottom of the Legend group. We'll have that conversation later on in the year. All right, finally. Holy shit, that was good work there, Light. To close it on off, we got ourselves a certified banger, the Classico of the LCK. This week on Saturday Showdown, it is T1 versus Gen.G. Let's dive into it. This week's certified banger. All right, these two teams, they have been the top of the league for such a long time, but not the case right now. This will be one of the first Saturday Showdowns where neither one of them are in 1st or 2nd place. I guess 1st place at least, with Hanwha and KT occupying those spots. Gen.G on the heels though, looking good, doing pretty well. Maybe they did pass them with the most recent KT loss. Oh yeah, they did pass them with the most recent KT loss by 1 game score. But either way, it is the most hyped matchup in the LCK. These two teams always fight it on out, and it's going to be a great matchup. So as we take a look at the potential for these squads to have one of those epic matches that we all know and love, I want to ask my guys here, who you got? And what angle are you looking at here with a 60% chance that Gen.G will take the victory according to the markets over at Polymarket? Yamato, let's start with you.
T1 Gen.G, banger. I do think T1, their main tipping point now is going to be, like, I think Kerry hasn't been good form this split. I think Owner has been very inconsistent, which is new considering his most recent years. I think that him and Kerry were always like the backbone of things, but I feel like the main thing that is holding this team back is the importance of solo lane and just solo laning, like in the 1v1. And I do think in the last series that T1 just played, I'm trying to remember who they played against. Maybe you guys can help me out before I pull it up.
DKT.
DNS. The last series that T1 played?
Yeah, there was one against a better team. Was it D+?
Pretty sure it was I'm pretty sure it was DK.
D+, yes, it was D+.
Yeah. So that was the one where, like, I believe Faker was playing like, what was he playing? He was playing like Twisted Fate, came out of good conditions. We had Doran on Yorick, we had Doran on Ambessa. Like, I think the solo lane performance, as it improves, morale for Tion will improve too, but I think it's just a little bit too soon to beat Gen.G. I think Chovy and Keen is a different mountain to climb than Shiwa and Showmaker, and I do think that solo lanes are just a little bit too important in the current meta, and I think that Owner's form is not good enough to really expose the issues that Canyon is currently experiencing in terms of how he connects with Duro. I think Keria can be the ace and not the ace of of losing the game, but the ace of winning the game, not the MVP of failure. But I think it's too soon. So I'm leaning Gen.G here. I do think that Gen.G is also at the same time also ramping up. I think they're slowly also improving and getting back to form. They're far from peak form, but they're getting better. And I think T1's also slightly getting better, but not fast enough to beat Gen.G just yet.
In case you missed it, cvMax went hard in the paint on the team after their most recent loss against KT, calling some of the players the ace for the other team and the MVP of losing, which is the reference there. Jamada, go ahead. What do you think of this matchup here?
You know what? I've got a feeling T1 are going to win. As much as this is more gut, and I will give analysis, I promise, because I'm pretty much in line with Yamato entirely. I do think lane to lane up in the solo lanes, yeah, too tough a task right now in the state that Doran is in and in the state that Faker is in. And yeah, Owner, whenever T1 have been turbulent, normally, I would actually say even more than Carrier, Owner, like throughout a lot of last year, like early parts of the year when they do the Smash Groomer stuff, Owner was the guy. Like, we'll talk about Owner as effectively just the de facto best jungler in the world because of how well he was playing alongside what was going on with the T1 sub situation in the bot lane and how it was affecting their play top to bottom. That said, I feel like if the prep from T1 is simply, you know what, let's try and play this global like attack side lane angle, specifically bot, right? So Twisted Fate Prio, even in like game one, like they showed against DK, they're willing to pick it in game one if it makes sense. And that is the angle, right? We're trying to get our hands on Rise, trying to get our hands on TF, trying to get our hands on a good Galio game, things like that. And Faker is moving towards bot perma, and the bot lane matchup is something that it doesn't even have to be volatile or even favorable to T1. It just has to be something that can be played around. I can see T1 mounting like reasonable early game leads that they can convert into game wins. And again, I'm starting to, I don't want to say like my faith is not shaken in Gen.G entirely, but this is the most fallible that they have been in years. And the likelihood is it will be the most fallible that they will be maybe ever again, you know, until we have a different version of Gen.G. So I'm in it for an upset, you know, in terms of expectations. I do think that T1 do, at the end of the day, have it in them to beat Gen.G. Anytime they have to rise to the occasion, when T1 are the ones that have to rise to the occasion, especially in maybe the last 18-ish months, a little bit more if you want to like kind of pack in the back half of 2024, they have been more than capable. And they've come very close to crossing the line many times, and they have on occasion crossed the line. So in a best of 3, I can see it 100% happening. I think the prep just has to be more about, again, Faker trying to attack side lanes, and specifically just bot, right? I think if they approach this with like very global centric like mid pool in mind, or they approach it with like a shove and move mindset, I think that Faker can really pull a lot out of this map. I think that Shock Horror, the GOAT, is going to be the X factor of a series. But I do like contextually think with the way that Doran looks, the way that Owner looks inconsistent, I think it is going to have to come down to being a little bit of a generational Faker game or series rather to pull a series win out. But my gut is just telling me that's the way it's going to go this weekend. I'm just feeling it. There's not really anything else there's no other analysis to really bring to it. I want to make this clear. I do agree with Yamato. Like, I think that it is a too tall a mountain to climb, and that's why I think they should ignore actually trying to lane solo lane as a lane into Chovy into Keen and try and play through that way.
I think B&K Furex have Gen.G have a trap game against B&K Furex on Thursday before this matchup. T1 get a very, I guess, in disarray Nongshim, and I think that's much, much easier on Wednesday. So they get the extra day prep as well. Yep. And so I went with T1 in my official predictions as well. I think Gen.G is the better team, but also I think Keen has looked good when he looks good, but he has been a passenger in losses lately, and Doran being the hard carry, playing the Ambessa, making the space for everybody, and then just allowing he is like the tool to allow Carriot to make the plays. It's been very consistently that way. Whereas Gen.G, we've seen very long periods of Kenyon disappearing or Duro not making the play. It's been a quiet split for Ruler, who's been good. Not great, but good, given all the other things that were happening around him and the team. So I think this has the makings to be yet and again another great preview of what the playoffs will look like between these two squads that have led the region. All right, that's this week's Certified Banger. Make sure to check it out later on this week. We will cover that and the rest of the LEC playoffs plus the LCS all next week. Thank you so much for watching. Jamada, what do you guys have going on this week? Yamato, you first.
Which one was that? Jamada, Yamato? Me.
Yeah.
My Warcraft 3 tournament's finally commencing, bro. I'm currently ranked the highest out of everybody with a solid 100 LP. So that feels good. I'm playing against Tyler 1 and Hera, the faker of Age of Empires. I've been grinding a lot of Warcraft 3. I've been getting coached by some absolute legends in the game. So I'm excited to finally get to compete for the 10K. Need to go for the grand prize. So I've missed a lot of League of Legends, but it feels freeing to not be reliant on League, from a business side. It feels good to be able to sink your teeth into something else, So I'm a free spirit, like I'm a bird. So that's coming up this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday from 2 p.m. Central European time. I'm gonna rock up and play the Grubby tournament. I'm excited.
Good luck, Jamada. What you got?
Most of the midweek chilling, but towards the end of the week, gonna start my coverage of the CBLOL, which I know to some people they might turn their nose up, but I'm telling you, this region's the baby LPL, man. And Saturday, Sunday, we have pretty good series, especially the Sunday. It's Furia versus Loud, just like in terms of the classic of like one of the classics in terms of matchups. That is going to be sick. And then the Saturday as well is Red Cannons versus Fluxo, which might end up being a stomp, but we'll see. And that's just going to roll straight into the LCS in terms of co-streaming. So coverage basically of the Americas and a little bit of LPL here and there, mostly just the big top of the table clashes. Like there's BLG Top Esports this week. I want to say that's on Thursday. If memory serves me right, maybe it's Wednesday, but it's Thursday or Wednesday. And yeah, check those out over on my Twitch channel. We'll be there live.
Boom. There you go. Your coverage throughout the week and then supporting.
But you, dGon, what are you doing?
What are you doing, dGon? Yeah.
Back on the show, baby. Actually, on Friday, we are debuting a new piece of content that I have come up with. Basically, I guess no one's really going to spoil it. We're just amongst friends. We're doing like Family Feud. So we're doing LCK Family Feud. So I put out a tweet earlier last week of like, hey, I need people to fill out this survey for me. And so I got the answers. And then imagine your favorite hosts, I guess, casters going head to head. But then this is a pilot episode. So in the future, maybe we get some of the LCK casters come on through. Maybe we get some of the pros to come on through, stuff like that. It's growing, but we came up with the idea. We thought of all the angles. We got all the graphics together. Now we have to go and shoot it. And so we're going to try to do this later this week. So that's the big thing other than working most this week.
Who's the Steve Harvey? Are you the Steve Harvey?
I'm the Steve Harvey, baby. You know what?
You're missing the stash.
I'm ordering my stash. You already know.
Yeah.
Nice.
I thought about
the suit, the double-breasted suit.
Yeah, man. The costume change. I'm ready.
Holy. Then they need to put you on the LCK awards, and you need to announce the wrong winner.
Oh shit! No, I can't do that. That is career ender. Career ender in the LCK. That would be bad.
What are things that are hairy?
Not gonna be on there. Is that really?
That was a question on the show.
Know, but that's really that was a question on the show, or was that something you just?
Yeah, that was a question on the show.
It probably was on the show.
Yeah, I think it was an episode with Kanye on it, and he said balls, balls, balls. Maybe I'm confusing it because he said that on Ellen DeGeneres. Whatever. Oh. I think it was on the show.
Yamato's chess for 16. All right. That's how we're going to close. We'll see you guys next week for more Power Spike. Bye-bye.